You're sitting alone at 2 a.m., playing a game you've played 100 times before. Same map, same enemies, same dumb NPCs walking in circles saying the same three lines. And then, one of them looks at you differently. Not at your character. At you. Not in a scripted cutscene, not a horror mod, not some creepy Easter egg. A real glitch, a real NPC, doing something it was never supposed to do. And the weirdest part? Nobody fully understands why these moments happen. Because over the years, players have discovered NPCs that suddenly stopped acting like code and started acting almost human. Peaceful enemies, immortal stalkers, characters remembering deleted timelines, entire cities starting riots over stolen fruit. And once you hear these stories, you'll never look at game AI the same way again. The first story sounds harmless, almost cute. Back in 1999, there was a weird little platformer called Bugdom. Bright colors, cartoon insects, huge grassy worlds. The kind of game that looks completely innocent. But hidden inside this goofy bug game was one of the strangest AI glitches ever discovered. Throughout the game, enemy ants attack the player using spears. Their programming is simple. See player, attack player, repeat. That's it. But players eventually notice something bizarre. Sometimes, after getting hit with a spear, the ants would suddenly stop fighting. Not die, not run away, not glitch violently. They'd just stand there, quietly staring at the player. Like they had emotionally given up. Players started joking that the ants had become pacifists. And honestly, that's exactly what it looked like. Imagine being in combat, and suddenly one enemy just decides, yeah, I'm done with violence. The weirdest part was that nobody could consistently recreate the glitch. Sometimes it happened, sometimes it didn't, which made it feel less like broken code, and more like spontaneous behavior. Like the ant made a choice. Now, obviously, it wasn't actually conscious, but human brains are wired to search for meaning in randomness. The second something digital behaves unexpectedly, we start assigning personality to it. And that feeling becomes way scarier in this next story. Because this NPC didn't just act strangely, it acted like it remembered another universe. In Middle-earth, Shadow of War, there's a famous enemy named Bruise, a giant orc connected to the game's Nemesis system. And the Nemesis system was revolutionary. Enemies remembered your past encounters. If you scarred them, they remembered. If you embarrassed them, they remembered. If they killed you, they became stronger. The game basically created personal rivalries. But one player experienced something impossible. After deleting his save file and starting a completely new game, Bruise came back. Not another version of him. The same one, earlier than he was supposed to appear, acting glitched, using broken dialogue. And worst of all, he couldn't die. No matter what the player did, Bruise kept returning. Again, and again, and again. Like the game itself refused to erase him. And that's what made this glitch legendary online. Because it didn't feel like normal broken code. It felt personal, like Bruise remembered the player, even after his world had been deleted. Logically, there's probably a technical explanation. Corrupted save data, broken memory references, leftover AI information, but emotionally, that doesn't matter. Because horror isn't about logic, it's about implication. And the implication here is terrifying. What if a digital character remembered something it wasn't supposed to? That's the exact kind of glitch that sticks in people's heads forever. But somehow, this next story gets even worse. Because at least Bruise was supposed to be a villain. In Fallout 4, the monster was your own companion. And if you've played Fallout 4, you definitely know Preston Garvey. The guy constantly asking you to help another settlement. He's supposed to be friendly, loyal, helpful, but during one survival mode playthrough, something broke. A strange combat interaction caused Preston to suddenly become hostile. Normally, that wouldn't matter. You'd just kill the NPC, except Preston had one very important tag attached to his code, essential, meaning the game literally could not allow him to die, and that single detail transformed Fallout 4 into a horror game. Because suddenly the player had created an immortal enemy. The player tried everything, shooting him, explosives, running away, hiding, and nothing worked. Preston always came back. If the player escaped, eventually Preston found them again. If they traveled across the map, Preston reappeared later, like some unstoppable machine. Players compared him to the Terminator. Others compared him to the monster from It Follows. And honestly, both comparisons fit perfectly, because this wasn't scripted horror. The game accidentally created its own slasher villain, and accidental horror is always scarier, because players know the game isn't supposed to behave this way, which creates this awful feeling that reality inside the game is breaking apart. But no game embraced chaos harder than Oblivion. And honestly, this might be the closest gaming has ever come to accidental human behavior. When Bethesda created The Elder Scrolls 4, Oblivion, they wanted NPCs to feel alive, not decorative. So instead of characters standing still forever waiting for the player, NPCs had routines. They ate food, went to sleep, worked jobs, talked to people, and most importantly, they made decisions independently. This system was called Radiant AI, and on paper, it sounded revolutionary. In practice, it nearly turned the game into complete chaos, because once NPCs were given freedom, they started doing things the developers never expected. One of the most famous examples happened during testing. An NPC became hungry, so the AI searched for food. The NPC found an apple at a market stand and stole it. A guard witnessed the theft. And because the guard AI was programmed to enforce the law, the guard killed him. Problem solved. Except nearby NPCs witnessed the murder. And they reacted. Friends of the dead, NPC attacked the guard. More guards arrived. More civilians joined. And within minutes, the entire town erupted into violence. All because one hungry NPC stole an apple. Nobody scripted this. The AI systems simply collided with each other naturally until the game created its own believable social disaster. And that's the moment developers realize something terrifying. The smarter NPCs become, the less predictable they become. One developer even compared Oblivion's AI to a holodeck gone sentient, which honestly sounds less like game development and more like science fiction. But here's the really unsettling part about all these stories. None of these NPCs were actually alive. Not even close. These weren't conscious beings. They were bugs, broken logic, random systems colliding in unexpected ways. And yet, players emotionally reacted to them like they were alive. Why? Because humans are unbelievably good at detecting personality. If an NPC pauses too long, we think it's thinking. If it stares at us strangely, we think it's aware. If it behaves unpredictably, we think it has intentions. Our brains automatically turn accidents into stories. And honestly, that might be more fascinating than actual AI. Because maybe the creepiest part isn't the NPCs, maybe it's us. The fact that deep down, we want to believe the code is waking up. And with modern AI getting smarter every year, that line between scripted behavior and real intelligence is starting to get dangerously blurry. NPCs now remember choices, generate dialogue, adapt behavior, respond dynamically. So imagine what games will look like 10 years from now. Imagine NPCs that remember every interaction forever. NPCs that form relationships. NPCs that create rivalries. NPCs that develop personalities dynamically. At what point does simulated behavior become emotionally indistinguishable from real behavior? And more importantly, would humans even know the difference? Because if a digital character can make you feel fear, empathy, guilt, or attachment, then psychologically, your brain already treats it as real. And maybe that's why these glitches go viral. Not because they're broken, but because they accidentally reveal the future. Tiny moments where scripted characters briefly stop feeling scripted, moments where the illusion becomes a little too believable. So the next time you're alone in a game late at night, and an NPC behaves a little strangely, maybe don't ignore it so quickly, because sometimes the scariest moments in gaming aren't the monsters developers created on purpose. They're the moments where the code does something nobody expected. something unscripted, something almost human. And once that feeling hits you, you never fully forget it.